the NFL just announced 60 semifinalists for the Hall of Fame in the coach contributor category and the seniors category. And the Niners' implications on this are gigantic. So, wanted to kind of dive into each one of those and what that looked like. For the coach contributor category, the Niners have four very relevant not players, coaches, contributors that I think, kind of fell into that category. None more important than John McVay, who, obviously the granddad of, McVay, coached down for the Rams, all that kind of stuff. John McVay spent 21 years with the 49ers. He was here, the architect, the, director of player personnel to general manager, all five Super Bowls. He had a very, very active role and hand in creating those teams. That just seems easy because, you can do the whole Bill Walsh thing. You can do the George Seifert thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You can talk about Eddie DeBartolo Jr. How many people had a hand in all five? That's a very, very small list. And I think John McVay has got to be near the top of that, beyond deserving. Now, three of these can get in. It all depends on votes and all that kind of stuff. But George Seifert's number two. And I don't know. I feel like I'm the only one. Not the only one. I'm not the only one. I don't think I could be a bigger George Seifert fan because similar to what I just said about John McVay, who had a hand in all five Super Bowls, George Seifert's number one to me. Not that, Bill Walsh is not important and was there and all those things are important. However, he went around, for the last ones. And if you look at what Seifert did, Seifert showed up in 1983 as the defensive coordinator. We won the Super Bowl right after he showed up. Now, people would say, well, the team was built, whatever else. I disagree with that. Here's the craziest thing to me, okay? George Seifert was here for 14 years as DC and head coach. The defense finished top 8 in 13 out of 14 of those years. 1 year, we didn't finish top 8, and we still finished, I think we were 14th that year. So still top half of the league. And I know Jerry Rice, that's how I got brought into this crazy fandom and all that stuff. Awesome. Great. The defenses were the one thing that were extremely constant during that time, 83 to 96. He was the head coach for 2 of those Super Bowls. He was the DC for 3 of those Super Bowls. And if you just look at his record as a head coach, just a head coach, eliminate the DC talk. He has more. He's the 49ers career leader in wins coached by a head coach, best winning percentage over anybody, most playoff wins, all those over Bill Walsh. Now, I'm not saying he's better than Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh changed everything. But if this dude had this same resume with the Lions, literally almost any other team besides like top 5 franchises, he'd be regarded as the greatest coach in the game. He's that damn good. And so it just shocks the hell out of me that Seifert is not already in the Hall of Fame. McVay, with what he done, that's great. George Seifert should be in the damn Hall of Fame, and it's not even close. And, we're going to talk Roger Craig and Patrick Willis, and yes, I believe those guys. George Seifert needs to be in over those guys. What he has done for this franchise, and I know that somebody's like, well, he was given this great team and whatever else. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Josh, he said it's because of his sideline face. Yeah, he had the look, man. There is no doubt about it. Just looked like a pissed off parrot on the sideline at all times. We were doing our 1994 Zoom watch parties, and yeah, it was bad. It was just bad. Every time they pay it to him, just a statue just over there, just pissed off. But I don't care. The resume speaks for itself. Should he have won more Super Bowls? Sure. But he won 2 Super Bowls in 8 years as a head coach. 2 Super Bowls in 8 years is incredible. That's awesome. Should it have been 3? Sure. But 2 out of 8? Good Lord. I don't think that there is a team. If you could guarantee 2 Super Bowl wins in 8 years, every single team would take that. No questions asked. He's that damn good. Now, a couple other big time assistants are up, not necessarily for what they did with the Niners. Mike Shanahan, he was the offensive coordinator for 3 years. He was only with the 49ers for 3 years, which I know, like, after Kyle Shanahan, all that stuff, it seems like it's more, but he was only here from 92, 93, 94. We did win the Super Bowl his 94 year. The thing that I thought was most interesting, in all 3 seasons that Mike Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, the 49ers offense finished first in points scored, first in points scored, and first in points scored. There was not one year Mike Shanahan was here that we did not lead the NFL in scoring, which that's pretty freaking fascinating. And then Mike Holmgren. He was an assistant for 6 years from 86 to 91. Offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach, all that stuff before he went on to the Packers. But still, major 49ers ties. I understand Shanahan and Holmgren are not being brought into the Hall of Fame if they do get in as 49ers guys. That's not what it is. But it is part of their story, and it's a part of our story as well. There's no doubt about that. Here we go. Coach says, how many NFC title losses did he have? It could have been a lot more than 2. Let me see here, because if I look up George Seifert, he's not even up there for losses, playoff losses either. Like, I get that we want to, put that on him, that, those were his losses or whatever, but they weren't. I just don't think that they were. You had the fumble, which we're going to talk about in a second, the Roger Craig fumble. I think that was under his, his year. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, I get it. He lost a lot of games to the Cowboys. That's sure. No problem. I don't have a problem with that, but you get it done. The thing, there's that awesome series right now out called The Playmakers, and The Athletic just did a hell of a job. And it's a 5-episode series. I just finished it this morning. I couldn't sleep because couldn't stop listening to this 5-hour program. It's so good. I'm probably listen to it again. It goes through Kyle Shanahan, McVay, all the Mike McDaniel, all those guys. And the thing that I kept taking away is just, man, you have to have things go your way to win a Super Bowl. Like, even whenever I was coaching in Texas, and I was a part of some very, very good teams that made some deep playoff runs against some great players, great teams. And we had several state winning and NFL championship winning coaches on our roster, like on our team, that were coaching with us. And all of them said the same thing, man. You've got to have the ball, just got to bounce your way. Like, so many things. And I feel like the most common discussion we get in now is anytime the Rams get brought up, oh, but they won a Super Bowl. And they did. I'm not trying to take away their Super Bowl or any of the other Super Bowls, but look what had to happen for the Rams to win their Super Bowl. I mean, good Lord. Jimmy Garoppolo had 5 of his worst consecutive plays all in a row in the fourth quarter. Jaquiski Tart drops that interception. You have, okay, then they get into the Super Bowl. You have this 4th and 1 conversion that was awesome by the Rams. Then you have this phantom, made up, fake pass interference call that extended a drive that wouldn't have been extended. You have the Bengals. I mean, you can go on and on. Like, there's 6 things that are out of everybody's control. The ball just got to go your way. And were they deserving of it? Yes. Were the Bengals deserving of it? Yes. Were the 49ers deserving of it? Yes, I think they were. We beat the Bengals earlier that year in Cincinnati. So, NFC Championship losses hurt. There's no doubt. But at the same time, man, they're not all on Seifert. Kyle Williams dropping a ball. I know that wasn't Seifert time. That was after. But I'm just trying to put it into perspective. Like, stuff happens in a football game that you don't have control of. You don't have a control. And whenever that stuff goes wrong, it just goes wrong. It's just what it is. Now, let's switch over to the players. There were 31 senior players that were nominated. Up to 3 can get in, depending on the percentage of votes they get from the Writers Association and all that. Roger Craig was the one that was nominated with 49ers ties. This is not new for Roger Craig. Catfish, I don't know, man. I do the draft tape every year, and there are one or two players that will always jump off with that knee drive, and it just like triggers a response in the back of my head that just says Roger Craig. You know what I mean? Just that knee drive. Just pump those knees, baby. You look at his resume, probably 3 Super Bowl wins. That's huge. First thousand running back or any position. 1,000 yards rushing in a year and 1,000 yards receiving. He's the first one. Only 3 guys have done it ever. Christian McCaffrey, who's on our team now, Marshall Faulk, and Roger Craig. Roger Craig did it decades before the other two. 13,000 plus scrimmage yards, 73 touchdowns. Mark Adams, 49ers Camelot, does a hell of a job. He put this out on Twitter. First player to score 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, Roger Craig. Only player to make the Pro Bowl as a halfback and fullback the same year. And that's way back when the Pro Bowl meant something. It doesn't anymore. First running back to have 100 yards receiving in a Super Bowl. 4 Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro, 1980s All-Decade Team, 1988 Offensive Player of the Year. He was third in MVP votes that year. Boomer Esiason won with 31 votes. Randall Cunningham was second with 21. Roger Craig, 17 votes. Dude almost won MVP as a freaking running back. Now, his Hall of Fame score from Pro Football Reference is a 77.4. That's the biggest kind of thing against him. However, it's not the worst. He's got a higher score than Jerome Bettis, John Riggins, Paul Hornung, Larry Zonka. He is 1 point behind Tony Dorsett. 1 point. Roger Craig belongs. There's no doubt about it. No clue why he's not in there. And he's just such a stand-up dude. Still active in the 49ers community, the San Francisco Bay community. I mean, he's just freaking awesome. You cannot tell me. You can tell the story. And this is the question I go down to, when we talk about Hall of Fame. Can you tell the story of the running back position without Roger Craig? Hell no. No, you cannot. Literally transcended. A lot of that was Bill Walsh. Transcended the position by 20 years. Dude was so freaking good. So good. Anyway, love that dude. And so will he get in this year? We'll see.
The 49ers Rush Podcast.